Um, you know, when they announced, I competed 1 year in men's physique, 1 season.
Right.
I did pretty well. A lot of people said, "Oh, he was too big for it." I mean, I got, I think 12th Pittsburgh Pro first show. I did bad. I came in. I wasn't dry enough. And then New York Pro in a very tough lineup, I got 5th. And I think it was controversial. I was in the 3rd spot for a few minutes, and then I got 2nd to Chase Savoy in Puerto Rico. He deserved the win. He was sharper than me. And then they announced Classic Physique, and you asked if there was a doubt in my mind. I mean, I immediately, right when I saw that video of Frank Seppi and Jim Mannion, I didn't have to sleep on it. I didn't have to think about it. 100%, I knew that was what I wanted to do. I was almost, there was talks about this type of stuff the year before, and a new division like this, and I just always ignored it because I didn't want to get my hopes up. But no doubt in my mind, man.
So I mean, was this something that for years you had been hoping for something like this, or wishing for something like this? Because your love was bodybuilding, but bodybuilding's got to a point where the extreme levels of mass required to do well at the men's open level, they're just, it's cartoonish. So were you always hoping that because you did have a good amount of muscle and you had this really, really good shape and everything, something would come along someday where you could be able to really showcase that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, growing up, I wanted to look like Men's Open. I guess just procrastinating and not doing what it took to get to that. I got older, working, business, and, I thought, okay, at the end of the day, like in my frame, Ron, and my height, we both know I'm not getting looked at anything under 250, 260. Right. So 250, 260 stage weight, we're talking about like 270, 280. I don't know if I want, I don't really want that for myself. I did. Yeah, I did it. So I did when I was younger. I was like, hell yeah. You watch Ronnie take off that bulletproof vest and unbelievable. I was like, are you kidding me, man? I was like, I want to look like that.
Yeah.
My friends that weren't into it, they're like, are you serious? I'm like, yes. I still, listen, I'm very hard on myself. I still don't look at myself and say, this is the best I've ever been at this point, biggest, leanest, I think most proportionate. I still don't look at myself and be satisfied. I still think this is small. I still think even Classic Physique, I look at the division, great guys, everyone's beautiful, but nothing stands out to me like, wow, the way Kevin Levrone did.
Yeah. The
way Leela brought us Samir Benoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when we get, and that's whole nother conversation, I don't know if we have time for that, but when we get, people talk about and compare Classic Physique to classic bodybuilding, well, none of the classic bodybuilders would have made weight today, first and foremost. Second of all, bodybuilding as a sport has evolved, and athletes today are more conditioned as well. So when you're riddled with vascularity, it gives you a different look than when you're about 7% holding water on stage. And that's what the classic guys were, you know?
Right. Now, you train at the East Coast Mecca, Bev Francis Powerhouse Gym, Steve Bev's gym. How did you end up, how long you been there? Can you tell me, I've been there a couple times. I wasn't lucky enough to train those times. What makes that such a special place? Why does it produce so many champions?
So a lot of people come out there to train, like, because they're competing. I just always wanted to train there since I was a kid. Just knowing about it, King Kamali took me there. And if anyone's been around long enough, the walls were yellow when he took me there. And he introduced me to Steve, and King. King's, big talker. He's like, oh, this is my Persian brother. He's gonna be, he's the future, and I didn't take it seriously. I didn't even know if I'd ever compete or if I'd turn pro. He said that to Steve. I doubt Steve remembers. And I thought to myself, I'll be back. I'll be back one day. And I never lived close enough. I grew up like way further west in Long Island. But a year or two before I competed, I lived in Roslyn, really close to Syosset, where Bev's is. And I was like, great. I just started training there. Just kept to myself and trained there. And then I decided to compete. The gym is great. The equipment is incredible. Steve collects pieces. So there'll be like 4 different variations of the same machine for every body part,
Yeah.
So that's that. But besides that, there's just something in the air. Everyone's pretty serious there. Even the non-competitors know what's up. They're training. They take it seriously. Yes, you have a lot of pros that call that place home, so you're around a lot of intensity. But just when you're training and you look up and you see all those bodybuilders up on that wall that walk through those doors, I imagine that, A lot of the videos that I watch at Dorian Training is at Bev's, So it's something that I can't explain, really. It's just, I don't feel it when I go elsewhere. And it's not anything like for me, like, you know, politics and old bevs. No, I genuinely enjoy training there, and I get better workouts when I'm there.
Right on. So another guy that works out there is Sadiq Hadzovic, who was one place behind you last year. I've seen you guys train together in videos and stuff, but are you friends? Is there like a friendly rivalry, a not so friendly rivalry?
I don't think you've seen us train together.
No, there was a video I think you were both doing like, I don't know what the body part was.
Generation Iron?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, he was training separately, I was training separately. They just titled the video Arash and Sadiq Training.
Okay. So you got, I'm asking, second and third place in the world in that division. Is there a rivalry? Do you guys ever train?
Listen, you ask anybody that knows me. I speak to Danny on IG, Danny Hester. I speak to Breon Ansley. I'm friends with George. I'm friends with everybody in the division. I'm not the type of guy that needs to be hating on the people that angry and hating the guy he's competing to train hard. Anyone that's ever seen me at Bev's, I train alone and I train hard every day. So for me, no, there's no rivalry, nothing like that. Me and Sadiq go way back. We know each other from before either of us ever competed. Wow. I'm very close to this cousin. We used to race cars together. So I met Sadiq go-karting in like 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I want to tell people a little bit about some of the things you've done occupation-wise that have nothing to do with any of this. You were a restaurant owner at one point?
Yeah, I grew up, my family had restaurants. I grew up managing them, working in them, and then owning one.
You got your stockbroker's license at 17 years old?
I think it was 18, yeah.
Okay, still fairly impressive.
My Series 7 and 63.
And now, what do you do in real estate? You flip houses?
I do real estate, rehabs, renovations, investments, management, just basically the whole spectrum.
So are these super long days and nights for you typically with work, and then you have to squeeze in your workouts and your meals around all that?
Yeah, sometimes I have a lot of free time, and sometimes they are really, really long days and nights. Getting ready for the Olympia this year, I've kind of taken a back seat. I've definitely given myself a break and more time for this. But if something comes up, if someone calls me and has a leak or there's a problem with a roof or a toilet, I gotta go.
Yeah, right. So talking about the Olympia, which is now, 4 weeks from tomorrow, from today, it's actually.
Yeah.
Time is flying, I swear. So last year, obviously, second. After the show, did you seek out critiques to see what you could improve on to close the door on anyone else next year?
Absolutely. I was bugging Steve backstage, you know. Look, I know where I can be better. I know where I needed to improve. I didn't get too much critiques from the judges. They all liked the way I looked. I think it was just a matter of, you know, a couple judges this way, a couple judges that way. But I know what I need to be better. I know what I can be better, and I already am. And I know what I need to improve on. Okay.
Do you think it's going to be a bigger show this year, obviously? Do you think it's going to be a more competitive, more exciting show? Because now we've had a lot more Classic Physique Pro shows, and we've got some definitely new guys that weren't as big a deal, like bumps.
I think it's going to be a whole different show. I think the fans and the competitors are in for a show. I think it's going to be head and shoulders more competitive. I think the top 5 guys are already considerably better. Breon is better. We know he's better. We saw him in New York Pro. I see pictures of Danny. He's better. Yeah. And we have new guys, like you said. So, yeah, I think it's a whole different animal this year.
Cool. I see that Diamond shirt. So, clearly, you recently joined up with Diamond, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And I had spoken to you a couple weeks ago for something related to that. How did you get with the company? You had told me that you'd actually been using one of their products for many, many years.
Well, yeah, I mean, Elite Whey is like one of my favorite proteins that I was using from like, I don't know, almost 10 years, you know? Yeah. But I don't think that's too much of a secret. I mean, so many people use Elite Whey, and Diamond, they're a big company. So I kind of have my work cut out for me because they're such a legitimate company with good quality. They sparked some interest, and they reached out to me months before we signed, and we went back and forth when we spoke, and it was more of a relationship, feeling each other out, than a business just like, hey, you know, we'll offer you this, will you take a yes or no? I flew out to Dallas, I met the team, and I was actually quite surprised because such a big company like Dynatize, the people that run it are just so down to earth, such a nice, tight-knit group, and I guess I rubbed them the right way and they rubbed me the right way. I felt very comfortable and we made it happen. I mean, everyone's always asking me since like 2014, how come you don't have a sponsor? And the real answer was, one, I didn't want to just sign with anybody because I kind of have the small little reputation that I do have is that I'm very honest and I teach people what I've done throughout my journey. So I need to have a legit company if I'm gonna promote them and they're gonna back me. So a lot of companies that did approach me were, you know, kind of sketchy and I wasn't really too comfortable. And two, I wasn't looking for a sponsor. Again, like you said, I work hard. I'm a businessman. If it happened, great. If it's a good fit, great. If not, I didn't need it. I wasn't like this starving bodybuilder, you know. I bodybuild now. Yes, absolutely, it's becoming a career. But I do this strictly out of passion and love, you know.
Yeah.
If I didn't make a living from it, I'd still be working and still be competing. If I stop competing tomorrow, I'm still eating these 6 meals a day and training 6 days a week. It won't change.
Do you think it was to your benefit or to your detriment that you started competing so late? Do you wish you'd started earlier, or do you think it actually worked out much to your benefit that you waited as long as you did?
It's a really good question because I was talking about this with someone. It's two completely different roads. Because if I started earlier and I competed in the NPC and IFBB, I would have been just bodybuilding, and I would have been a mass monster. Yeah. You know, so if I honestly, I don't like to say it would be to my detriment or benefit, but if I really, really had to say one or the other, I'd say it's to my benefit because I'm extremely happy with where I am now, you know? But listen, you know better than me. I told you I was training very heavy for how many years. Look at the career of someone that I was emulating, like Dorian. It was very short-lived because of injury, you know? So I've definitely smartened up a lot. I advocate very high intensity, very heavy weight, especially for the younger guys, while being safe. Yeah. Now at this age, with the amount of muscle I'm carrying, I'm not trying to break records on a daily basis. Yeah. I push hard, but I know not to push myself or do anything that doesn't feel right and hurt myself because I'm not 25 anymore. So, you know, a few wrong moves and I can really hurt myself.
That's very true. Trust me. Take it from me. So every classic pro I've had on, I've asked same two questions. Do you like the shorts the way they are, or would you much rather see the classic bodybuilding trunks like Arnold and Franco and Frank Zane wore?
I like the Speedo classic trunk. Yeah. That being said, like, you know, you can wear a trunk that's showing a lot, you know, even the top of the bottom of the glute. Right. But, you know, everyone's always talking about the posing and the trunks, and for me, it's like, listen, man, I'm going to take what I can get. I love this freaking division. If they want me to wear these trunks, I'm wearing these trunks. They have to differentiate. If they gave us the same trunks that bodybuilders wear and we had the lat spread, the side tricep, front and rear lat spread, what's the difference? Yeah. You know, so you gotta, you know, instead of people nitpicking at all these little things, just sit back and enjoy.
Right.
You know?
Well, I mean, it's undeniable. Every amateur show I've been to, from the local ones to the national ones now, the classic classes are just packed.
Yeah, man.
It's so much bigger than the bodybuilding classes for the most part, and it's definitely got an appeal to it that bodybuilding doesn't have anymore, or doesn't have right now. Why do you think so many of the young guys who are competing now are going classic physique instead of bodybuilding?
Well, look, bodybuilding, the sport, okay, the NPC IFBB has become more mainstream. It was not mainstream when I followed it. It was just the underground hardcore. Okay, so when something becomes mainstream, more people want to do it. So that's why, like, we have all these coaches, right? The big joke right now is like everyone's a freaking coach because it's needed. They're not good coaches, but it's needed. If you have not been training like me and experimenting with dieting like me since 13, and you start training 1 year and you want to get on stage, you need a coach. Yeah. You need a coach. That's it. Okay. So it's the same thing. You can't just pick up a magazine, see someone like, oh, I want to compete. If you're going to do that in that short period of time, you're going to have to do men's physique because it's the least amount of muscle needed. Yeah. Next step, you know. So classic, I think, is absolutely more obtainable. And a lot of guys, I said when they announced this division, a lot of genetic freaks are going to come out of the woodwork. There's a lot of guys that just didn't want to do what it had to take, do what it took to be that big, or didn't want to be that big.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, when I was in men's physique, I was like a bodybuilding fan. I mean, I remember I was at the Arnold, Ohio. I went with Juliana, and I'm standing there watching the bodybuilders, and there was a men's physique competitor next to me, a pro. And I chatted with him a bit, and he didn't know who anyone was on stage. He didn't like it. He didn't even care for it. And I was so shocked. You know,
Wow.
For me, that was like being a race car driver and not knowing who the F1 drivers are. Because I don't care if you want to be 280 or 270 or 260 or not.
Yeah.
But respect bodybuilding, because if it wasn't for them, there would be no bikini, men's physique, or classic physique, or any other division for that matter.
True.
They opened the door for us. They paved the way for us.
Yeah.
You know?
Glad you said that.
Did I even answer your question, or did I go off?
You did. But I wanted to just reiterate what you just said, because you just said these guys with the great genetics come out of the woodwork. And this last USA, I don't know how many of them all together there were, but every few guys that came up there, I was like, wow, you know, tiny little waist, big sweep, peaked biceps, sweeping. On average, the genetics were much higher level than the average bodybuilder in the show. So
Yeah.
I think Classic is taking these guys that, like you said, they had no interest in doing what they would have to do to be an open bodybuilding champ, but they had those kick-ass genetics.
Yeah.
We just didn't know about these people. So I guess that leads me to my final question. It's an important one. Where do you see this division going over the next few years, and what part do you want to play in that?
Well, I see this division growing immensely. The fact that this 2017 Olympia, the prejudging is in the expo like it was last year, but our finals is on the main stage.
Yeah.
Women's physique, men's physique, they're not on the main stage.
Wow.
You know, I don't think men's physique is on the main stage. It wasn't last year. That's a big deal, you know, and we're growing. Will it take the place of bodybuilding? Not right now. It might one day, but not right now.
Yeah.
People go to the zoo to see the gorillas. They don't go to the zoo to see the parrots, you know? So it's very different. There's still the hardcore underground bodybuilders. That'll never change. Yeah. The prize money reflects this very much. And then this is more mainstream. The sport is changing. It's going to change. Classic physique is going to be enormous. What role do I want to play in it? I want to be Mr. Olympia. I want to win the Olympia, and I want to hold that title. Not only because I love bodybuilding, not only because I want to make history in the sport, not only because I'm competitive, but when you, Ron, when you have a spotlight on you, when you have popularity, when you're put up in society on a pedestal as an actor, as an athlete, basically what you're given, I don't care for the pats on the back. The way I view it is you have a voice. You're given a voice. People hear you. And I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say that I think will benefit our youth, you know, and I'd like to see that in the sport. There's only two people offhand that I can think of that I want to emulate and be like. One is Flex Lewis, 5-time 212 Mr. O, good friend of mine, just an amazing champion. He is the benchmark of what a champion should be, a pro athlete should be, the way he carries himself, the way he takes out time to say hello to anyone and everyone. And The Rock, I know he's not an IFBB bodybuilder, but that guy, look at the way he carries himself with humility and class, you know? So that's one of the real big reasons that I want to be there, and I want to have that crown, you know? That's a big thing for me. But to go back to what you were saying before about the genetic freaks and everything, I just wanted to add something. I think all the divisions are impressive. To get into shape, to work out, I give everyone a lot of credit. But it's not very difficult to be big. It's not very difficult to be lean and conditioned. It's very difficult to be big, lean, and conditioned while holding symmetry. So you take a lot of these young guys, you take a lot of these genetic freaks, besides the fact that you and I both know what it takes to get to the level that I'm at now.
Yeah.
So half of them don't have the mental strength and toughness. But that being said, as they grow into the division, as they get bigger, the physiques change. Some of the most aesthetic looking guys today and of all time are small. They're smaller. Yeah. You know, like some of the men's physique guys, holy shit, on Instagram, even Mr. Olympia, Jeremy Buendia, I see that guy, I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. But they're much smaller.
Right.
You know, I never aspired for that. Even my men's physique days, I used to look at myself and like want to throw up. I was like, oh God, I gotta eat something, you know? So, and I'm not saying you have to be a mass monster, but I'm impressed, me personally, this is just my opinion, I'm impressed with size and muscle bellies and roundness. And we're not even talking about big Ramy size.
Yeah.
230, 225, this is difficult. This is difficult for the human body, and it's impressive. You know, anyone's grandma can achieve a six-pack or bulk up. That's not difficult. You know, so what I've seen with my own eyes, and I have a lot of clients as well over the years, hundreds of clients, is that let's see what you look like when you put 15 pounds of muscle on. Let's see how you train, how you develop, not get hurt, and bring up the whole body aesthetically while keeping that beauty. And then we'll talk.
Right on. Cool. Where can people follow you on social media? What's your Instagram? What is your YouTube?
My YouTube is Arash Rahbar, and my Instagram is Arash Rahbar. I keep it real simple. If you just put in YouTube or Instagram Arash Rahbar, there's not too many Arash Rahbars out there. So
I did find a couple on Skype over in Iran. Yeah. Luckily, you gave me your correct.
They'd be happy to talk to you, I'm sure.
All right, man. So I thank you so much for taking the time to do this, Arash. I know 4 weeks coming right up. You must be deep into your prep now and feeling the diet a little bit. So thank you so much for taking the time.
It's my pleasure. I truly enjoy these moments in the sport. You know, this is what really makes it for me. So anytime, Ron, it'd be a pleasure to be on your show. I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, maybe the next time we speak, you will be on Ronline as the Olympia champion. I would like that very much.
Hopefully, we will see.
Let's see what happens. All right, thanks, and we will catch Arash Rahbar in Vegas in 4 weeks at the Olympia weekend. For Ronline Report, it's Ron Harris with Arash Rahbar.
Thank you, brother.
All right.